This is going to sound like so much hate, and I swear it's not.
Warner Brothas Podcast, welcome back. Post-game check-in with Kyle. We just saw the Knicks get downed by the Pacers to 114-109. I'm going to re-intro that actually, Keenan. Warner Brothas Podcast, welcome back. Post-game check-in with Kyle. We just witnessed the Game 2 Eastern Conference Finals wrap up. Pacers over the Knicks, 114-109. Interesting series so far. Very fun series so far. Nostalgic series so far with the Pacers and the Knicks, obviously. It has been, to me, an exceptionally fun brand of basketball. It's been physical, but not too physical. There's been plenty of scoring, right? It's not necessarily a track meet, right? Though the Pacers are turning it into their favor of pace when they want to. But I found that the Knicks have been able to slow them down a bit more than I thought. Even considering the explosion, obviously, we saw at the end of game one with threes. But listen, man, this is exactly what Brandon and I were talking about post-game of game one. You could find yourself, much like the Celtics in the last round, against the Knicks. You cough up these games late, it could cost you the whole series. You cough up game one if you're the Knicks, then you're in a dogfight again in game two against the Pacers. You find yourself losing. You just find yourself getting beat, you know? Indy wasn't necessarily the greater team tonight. They did not win the free throw advantage by any means. I think they shot something. At one point, they were 60% from the line, while the Knicks were 90+% from the line. Pacers, I haven't checked the stats. It seemed like they certainly out-rebounded the Knicks. To me, that was the difference, along with Karl Anthony Towns not playing much in the fourth quarter. With no foul trouble. Towns only had 3 fouls going into the fourth. I think he only had 1 going into the second half. I think he picked up his second foul in the third quarter late. And might have picked up his third at the end of the third quarter. And they shelved him for, I think, up until the 2-minute mark, 2.5-minute mark of the fourth quarter. And who's to say if he plays that they win the game? But to me, that was the difference in the game. Again, I'm not saying the complete difference to where they win that game if Karl Anthony Towns is in. But, you know, the fact that you can just foul Mitchell Robinson, the fact that, you know, do a little hack of Mitch, the fact that you're essentially almost playing 4-on-5 when it comes to offense with Mitchell Robinson. He's a lob threat, don't get me wrong, but you don't got to worry about him from range or even from mid-range. I don't know. I thought they made it just that much easier on the Pacers in the fourth quarter. And a game that was already nip-tuck. And a game where you need all the stars, quite literally, all the stars to align and all your stars to produce. Brunson, Towns. You need that, especially when Halliburton didn't play the best of games scoring-wise. He still remained aggressive, still created plays, still dictated the pace. I thought his decision-making down the stretch was phenomenal tonight. Again, even with him not scoring the ball well. But Siakam, man, Siakam was a man amongst boys tonight. You know, we've mentioned it. You don't hear NBA champion Pascal Siakam a lot. They don't treat him like he was that number 2 guy on that Raptors team, which he was. You hear more about Kyle Lowry, I feel like, you know, when he's playing in those big-time games with the Heat and the Sixers late in his career. Felt like you heard more about him being a former champion than you do about Pascal Siakam. Same with OG, too. I feel like OG doesn't get his due. That's just me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they do get their due, but I feel like we don't hear enough or as much as you would think, especially since it's recent memory. Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, I feel like you don't hear it like you do with Kawhi, like you did maybe once upon a time with Kyle Lowry in the twilight of his career. So, that being said, back to the nuts and bolts. Knicks are down 0-2 to the Pacers, giving up both games at home. Again, in a game where I felt like they shot themselves in the foot a little bit by at least not inserting Towns 3 minutes earlier. Pacers look on all levels so incredibly confident, no matter who's in the game. And you see the difference at the beginning of the fourth quarter when Halliburton's sitting for the Pacers and Brunson is sitting for the Knicks. I do believe actually Towns was in the game at this point. Beginning of the fourth, I think he was in. I think they took him out maybe around the 9-minute mark. Seems that way to me anyway, but you just see the level of depth, the difference in the level of depth between the Pacers and the Knicks when they're sitting both their starting point guards at the beginning of the fourth. And you saw it. You saw Indy pull away a little bit. I think they got it to 6. Knicks call a timeout. They get Brunson back in. And from there, it's nip tuck. And again, Towns doesn't see the floor. Takes away your spacing. Brunson made some big time clutch shots down the stretch. Misses the game tying 3 with about 7 seconds left. Pulls up from deep. Seemingly was afraid of the foul. At that point, there's enough time on the clock. Maybe you play it out. I don't know. Maybe you let them foul you. I think they had one timeout in their pocket too. Maybe you let them foul you. Go make 2. Go put the pressure back on the Pacers. Have them shoot foul shots. I don't know. It seemed like there was enough time on the clock there to where they could have, gotten something better than just a jack up. A 35-foot launch from Jalen Brunson. But hey, you also trust him to make those shots. So, once again, though, I know we warned Knicks fans of, going down 0-1 in a tough loss. The hole that can dig for you, right? Which, in fact, they did. Down 0-2. But this has been such an aesthetically pleasing series to watch. It's just hoop, man. It's just, this is exactly what the conference finals are supposed to feel like. Refs are letting them play. By the way, I feel like the refs are actually calling continuation better than they ever have. In my viewing experience, I feel like they are getting the correct timing on, like, if you get a half step after you get fouled, then you try to put the shot up. We're not letting you get that off anymore. I feel like throughout the regular season, throughout past years, past decades, man, I feel like you could get a half step on top of another step and still get the basket on these continuations. So I feel like they've gotten more strict, but more consistent on the continuation call as well. But overall, I got to be honest, man, this is probably the most impressed. This is a statement right here, because I've been tough on NBA refs. I thought NBA refs were far and away the worst as far as the major sports officials. I don't know about hockey. I don't, soccer, you can officiate a million different ways, especially across, all international competitions. But as far as the NFL, yeah, the NFL is inconsistent, but that's probably the toughest game to officiate. The NBA, I just feel like you're never consistent, especially in the regular season. You never know what you're going to get out of an NBA game as far as officiating goes. I feel like it's often far too soft. And I still feel like it's soft in the playoffs as far as technical, as far as flagrants. I feel like they've actually gotten just a tad bit better this postseason. But overall, I would say this is the best consistency as far as calling the games. I think this is the most consistent I've seen the refs throughout a whole postseason in quite some time. Certainly in recent memory. I've actually quite enjoyed the refereeing. So I hope they get their credit. That's just from my view, but I hope everyone else can give them their credit, because, yeah, you're going to miss some calls. You're going to get some things wrong. But I think by and large, the consistency of how they're calling these games is pretty decent. Now I'm about to, because I do this, I'm about to be a bit of a hypocrite. I do think these refs, for whatever reason, and maybe this is just credit to the Thunder, I think the Thunder get away with just a little bit more physicality than most teams get away with as far as perimeter defense goes. They seem to get to hand check. They seem to get to bump just a little bit more. And, maybe, some coaches would say, I believe it was Greg Popovich would say, just foul at the beginning of a game. Foul as much as you can at the beginning of the game. Put pressure on the refs. And, because they're not going to call everything. Essentially put pressure on the refs, foul as much as you can. And they'll let it be essentially a physical, I don't want to say dirty, but a physical game. Maybe that's what the Thunder are doing. Because they certainly play a physical brand of basketball on the perimeter. Usually it's the other way around. Usually it's you get in the paint. Then it gets physical. Usually, you get inside the 3-point line. Then maybe it gets physical. Thunder they remind me of a football team straight up. Especially when you combine the fact they've already got the most. They've turned teams over the most. More than anybody in the history of the game. And we're not even to the finals yet. We haven't finished. We're 2 games into the Western Conference Finals, and they are well ahead of the record. I think second place has 79. They've turned teams over 91 times in this postseason. So that's a level of defense they're playing with. I know, again, I just complimented the refs. Then I go and say, hey, it seems like they let the Thunder get away with a little, physicality and hands here and there. But credit to the Thunder because they might be physical. Yeah, they might get away with a little bit. But they play incredible help defense, incredible recovery defense, helping the helper, all that. They're incredible. They are elite. They're top tier. They are making a team like Minnesota, who I thought was able to match this brand of basketball. I thought they could be just as physical on the perimeter as the Thunder. I thought they kind of met their match as far as physicality goes. Thunder obviously a little bit quicker and faster than the T-Wolves overall. But man, to have 2 essentially blowout victories against against a Western Conference finalist from last season, Minnesota Timberwolves, and to make them look like this, we might have to judge the Thunder on a completely different level, depending on how this series ends. If you listen to the last podcast, you would know I said I think the Thunder would lose. I thought the Thunder would win Game 2, but go ahead and lose Game 3, which is tomorrow. Still believe that. Still believe the Wolves will get Game 3. And then Game 4, man, that'll be the toughest game of the series for them probably. Because I don't think... First off, I know I picked the T-Wolves in 7, but I don't see them winning 4 or 5 against this Thunder team, the way they're playing defense. But I do see them winning Game 3. And I think Game 4, they'll have to fight for their life. Then it's anyone's series after that. Would be anyone's series. But this Thunder team, you can't mess with them. Their defense is that elite. We knew that coming out of the regular season. They were a historic defense. They were clearly the best defense in the league. I actually thought the Celtics could get to that level as far as their size and, physicality they can bring with Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jalen and Jason, and then Porzingis, who gave them nothing this postseason, but Porzingis' length. I thought they could at least be as dangerous as a defensive team as the Thunder, but clearly they're a cut above everybody. Because I would put the T-Wolves again in that group of they could be just as physical. And the Thunder again, they just remind me of a football team. And you've heard people describe it as, it seems like they got 6 defenders out there. That's how much they're swarming. That's how much they're recovering. That's how quick and fast they are. That's what it looks like on TV too. Looks like they're playing 6-on-5, 7-on-5 out there sometimes. But hey, Timberwolves got Anthony Edwards specifically. Know he's got ankle problems. But, if people are going to throw out this baby Jordan tag, you got to come back with at least 30 tomorrow. Maybe even 35. You got to put the team on your back. You don't got to play hero ball, but you got to lead the way you see a Jalen Brunson do consistently, the way you saw Halliburton in game one, the way you saw Siakam do it tonight. That's got to be Anthony Edwards tomorrow. He's got to take control of the game. He doesn't have to force the game. You ain't got to force it, but you got to take control of the game. Right? You got to leave your imprint. You got to be the force of that game. Right? And you saw at the end of game two, you saw that play where Jaden McDaniels kind of shoves SGA. We need to see more of that. Timberwolves definitely need to do that down 0-2, going home. Crowd's going to be going crazy. Get extra physical with these guys. Muck it up. Just how the Thunder, like I said, the Thunder seem to get away with a little bit more physicality. Play that same way if you're the Timberwolves. Make it tough on them. If not, you're probably looking at 0-3, and we know how that's going to end up. But T-Wolves are battle-tested. T-Wolves are playoff ready. And though their leader is young, Anthony Edwards, I don't think he's even 24 yet. That's still a vet team. They're still one of the most well-coached teams in the league under Chris Finch. So I expect the Wolves to win game 3. I expect Ant to do his thing. I expect a big game out of Jaden McDaniels, I expect a big game out of Naz Reid. Gobert's got to rebound, play defense, all that. You need a total team effort tomorrow. And then give yourself a chance in game 4. Back to Knicks-Pacers. I'm worried, man, because I want 7 games of this series. This has been a fantastic series. We got the game of the playoffs in game 1. Tonight was one of the better game of the playoffs, too. I thought we were going to be headed for OT again. And you know what? It very well could be 0-3 for the Knicks. Pacers up 3-0 coming out of Sunday with another home game for the Pacers, which is already a tough place to play. I'll say it again. I mean, I think there's no fans on earth like Knicks fans as far as basketball goes. Pacers fans are up there. Pacers fans know their hoops, know their basketball. Much like New York City is a basketball city, the state of Indiana is a basketball state. So in a lot of ways, these fan bases, though they're very different as far as lifestyle, as far as location, obviously, Knicks being on the East Coast, Pacers being Midwest, the values are different, Hicks versus Knicks, that whole history. A lot of similarities, though, as far as the basketball culture. So it's one reason why this rivalry has always been so intriguing. You saw tonight to throw up a stat that over the past, I don't know if it was 25 years, 30 years, 50 years, whatever it was, most playoff matchups, most playoff games, Knicks-Pacers. So hopefully they can add to the storied history of this rivalry. One of the few true rivalries we still have in the NBA. Hopefully the Knicks can extend the series. I'm rooting for that. I'll be rooting for the Knicks in game 3. I'll be rooting for the Timberwolves in game 3 as well. Hopefully we get some excellent games. It's Memorial Day weekend. Y'all be safe out there. I'll be back likely Tuesday after the second game 4 wraps up. That'll be That'll be Pacers Knicks. So you likely won't see me until Tuesday unless we get anything crazy. Once again, everyone be safe out there. Enjoy y'all weekends. Enjoy the hoops. We'll be back.